Good evening, good evening. Happy Friday, everyone. This is Dr. Katrina Esau from KE3 Worldwide Enterprises. And today I am here with a few of my friends or a couple of my friends, and we're going to do a live book review. You guys know if you follow me, you'll see that I always post the book reviews on Friday. And so today wanted to do one live. We've done it once before with the Browns from a marriage couple perspective. And then today I have two young ladies that have actually read the book that are single. And so I wanted just to get their input and to get their thoughts on what they thought about the book. Because a lot of times when I talk to people, they think it's for married people. And I get that because I cater more to wives, which that's where my call is. And so that's where I focus on. But I just wanted to come on today. So if you're out there and you are a single young lady or a single woman, if you are a divorced woman, and you want to get the book or you thought about getting the book, but then maybe you thought, no, it's just for couples or it's just for wives. So just wanted to have that conversation today. So as you all come in, make sure that you share the video, tag a friend, and also make sure that you like and follow my page, KE3 Worldwide Enterprises. And I have with me today Iris and Ashley, and I'm so thrilled that they agreed to join me and have this book review live. So, Iris, would you like to say something to the people today?
Hello, happy Friday, everyone. I just want to say that I'm happy to be a part of Dr. Katrina Esau's book and book review. It's a pleasure of mine just to sit in her presence. I'm very proud of her, look up to her. I'm just happy to be here and, share what I learned from the book.
Awesome. Thank you. Ashley, you want to
You're
greet the
welcome.
people?
Sure. I'm Ashley. I've known Katrina for several years now, and I had no hesitation in buying the book just because I wanted to support her in any way I could. And I'm so thankful that I bought it and read it because it's opened my eyes more to prayer and to God's grace. And so I'm just thankful for her. So when she asked me if I would do this live stream, I was like, sure, even though it's something I would have never done before.
Well, I thank you for agreeing to do it, and it's so funny because when she IM'd me, we also worked together, and I was just shocked that she had bought the book. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know you bought the book, and so it was just really a blessing for her to share her experience, and that's why I'm like, you know what, it would be good to do alive because again, so many people don't think that the book is for singles, that it's only for wives, and it was funny because like a couple days ago, it dawned on me. It's like, wait a minute. It's like Iris has the book. You've never even asked her for a book review. And it was the same kind of encounter because I remember Iris came out to support me to I did the Meet the Married side chick, and she came out and she was hesitating to get the book. And I'm like, Iris, just get the book. And so when she made a post on it, and I happened to see the post, and it's the same thing because people think, or she thought that it was only for wives, and I'm like, I cater to wives. But in truth, the book is really for anybody that needs to go through healing and it needs to know what true forgiveness is. So it's not just for wives. So it was when I thought about it the other day, I'm like, it'd be great to have both of them on because, and I don't think Iris minds me sharing this. I hope I don't put my feet in my mouth, but Iris is divorced and Ashley has never been married. So not just from a singles perspective, but also from a perspective of someone that has went through a divorce because no matter what your status is, we all need healing. And so that's why I invited both of them today to share from their experience. Because again, single is one thing, but when you've been married and and went through a divorce, it adds a different layer. So I wanted them to share their perspective of the book from those angles, as single women, but also if there's anything else that Iris would add, just from the perspective of being a divorcee. I wanted to share that as well, because I know that, there's a wide gamut of people that, will listen to the video. And so just want you to know that if you've been on the fence, or maybe you've never even heard the book, but today's your first time. And so I would just share with you from my perspective, again, if you're any person that needs healing, that wants restoration, that wants a greater relationship with God, The Pain of Infidelity Births Purpose is for you. And so without further ado, I'm just going to start this off, and I'll ask them a few questions, and then they'll both answer the questions, and then we'll just flow that way. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Dr. Katrina Esau, and we are doing a live book review of The Pain of Infidelity Births Purpose. And so you can find more information about the book on my website, www.drkatrinaesau.com. And as you come in, make sure you say hello. I always say, don't stay up in the tree. Say hello, let us know you're out there, let us know where you're commenting from. Everybody I know is not here local in Tampa. And then also make sure you share the love with somebody else that may need some encouragement today. So we'll start with Iris. And my first question is, what was your number one takeaway from the book?
My number one takeaway from the book is forgiveness. And forgiveness is really it's really for yourself, because you can harbor all of those things and rehash and relive all those hurts and pains from years ago. But if you don't forgive, it's just leaving you in a stagnant place where, it's forgiveness is very important. It's for you. It's for you. And we have to have forgiveness in our heart, just so that we can become a whole person, and live and love, and our purpose and our God-given purpose, and to love again and to trust again. Because without that forgiveness, it's almost impossible for you to go into an effective relationship with someone else, because you're going to always think about what that person did in your life, how they hurt you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship. It can be a family member or a friendship, but you have to have that forgiveness so that you can become whole and live out your God-given purpose.
I could not agree more. That's one of the things I always share with ladies that I encounter, is the foundation is forgiveness. And, it's important that we truly forgive, because of that. It blocks us when we don't, it hinders us. And some people feel like they don't have to forgive, that they can move on. But the thing of it is, when you don't, it turns into a root of bitterness. So it's not worth it. And when it turns to bitterness, a lot of times people have diagnoses because they have not forgiven somebody, and you don't think about it. You think it's just life and you're sick or whatever, but it's because you're holding on to unforgiveness, and it's literally eating you up on the inside. So I think that's great. So thank you. Ashley, what was your number one takeaway?
I think for me, like, forgiveness was a big, big part of it, but also remembering to take the time to heal and heal properly. I think, like I told you, that I think I bought this book probably at the beginning of September, and I didn't read it until the beginning of October. And granted, like, this year, 2020, has been a bang up year. And so, healing's been a big thing. And I started, like, I was on the road to healing and getting more back into prayer and things like that. And then in reading the book, it was just kind of that extra push that I needed to remember that through God, anything is possible. And with his help, I feel like I stepped up the healing process.
That's good. And that's my goal. That's my mission, is for every person that reads this book, that's in a place where they need healing, is that they'll be able to get that, and not only get the healing, but they'll have some sort of resource. There's not there's other resources that's in the journal, but really want them to have insight and know, number one, that you're not alone, and number two, that it is possible for you to heal from whatever the hurt may be. Mine was marital hurt. It could be relationship hurt. It could be whatever. It could be abuse, some sort of abuse, verbal, physical, and we as women, we have to take the time to make sure that we are healing ourselves. A lot of times, because we're strong women, we'll move on quickly to the next thing, to the next relationship. We'll get busy, whether it's working out, taking classes, working long hours. We do so much because we try to suppress it, because some people choose drugs and alcohol. Not all of us, that's not our thing. So we consume ourselves in other ways so that we don't have to deal with the issue. So it's really great to hear both of you share from that perspective, from forgiveness as well as healing, which, if you would ask me to summarize what it's about, that's really what it's about at the end of the day, is forgiveness and healing. So thank you, ladies, for that. So I'm going to, Iris, the next question that I'll ask is, did you have a favorite chapter? And if so, what was it and why?
Yes, my favorite chapter was chapter 5. I think it was forgiveness. It's time to heal. Is that what it is?
That
Yep,
sounds
it's time to
about,
heal.
look, I was
Yep,
going to say, that sounds about right.
yep, it's time to heal. Yes, yes, that was my favorite chapter. And again, it just reiterated the importance of forgiveness and healing. So, sometimes we don't realize when we carry on stuff and we don't forgive, you know, how many times have you met a bitter person, and every time they say something, it's always something negative and something bitter. And most times it's because they haven't forgave the person that caused them that heal, and they just carried it over from relationship to relationship, or day after day, church, work, personal life, and it just spews out so much hate and negativity, but it's really unforgiveness and bitterness.
So true.
So yeah.
So true.
So
I always say, you're going to bleed. If you don't take the time to heal, you're going to bleed all over
right,
people. And that's not
right,
good.
right,
Get healed. Don't leak on people.
right,
Take the
right,
time to heal yourself, because like you said, it's always negative, and who wants to be around that? And then as soon as start avoiding the person, or you don't spend the time that maybe you used to, now it's you the problem. Like,
right,
nobody don't want
exactly.
to be, we all have stuff, and so I don't want to be around you in that negativity all the time. So that's, yeah, I'm with you 100% on that.
Hmm.
Yep.
Ashley.
So mine was actually the next chapter, the get in alignment vertically. So being the fact that, like I told you before, I've never really known infidelity in any of my relationships. I've known about it in friendships and things like that. So I couldn't relate in that aspect, but in finding the healing power in prayer and things like that, that's what I was more drawn to in the book. And so that whole chapter was more, just however you pray, and
Hmm.
not only pray, but pray and listen, which I don't always do, and I know that I wasn't doing it prior to. I was just putting on a prayer, and I was like, all right, God's got it. But there's more to it. There's more. You have to, it's finding the time to not only pray but then listen. And that was what that chapter, like, that's how it resonated with me, was not only praying, but in praying, having an intention in your prayer, like
Hmm.
not just saying whatever, right? Truly thinking about, like, what is your prayer, like what are you wanting, what are you trying to find in Christ, and then praying it and listening.
That is so good. That is so good, because a majority of people that pray don't listen. They
Right.
don't take the time to listen. And the thing that I always tell people is, prayer is a two-way conversation. It's just like the two of us talking. you can't have a conversation with someone if you don't stop, listen to what they say, and then respond. And it's the same way when we go to God. You have to listen, like you're asking Him for something. You're not listening to get the answer, listening to get
Right.
the response. And so it's so important, as part of our prayer life. And sometimes we don't even necessarily have to ask for anything. Sometimes your prayer time may just be getting in His presence and listening. You may not be asking
Mm-hmm.
for anything. You're just solely listening. Lord, I don't have anything to say. I don't know what to say. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. I'm here. Lord, speak. I need a word. And
Right.
so you sit there and you just listen. And the problem I think with that is we can't sit still long.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
God doesn't always jump immediately when you say, God, I need a word, speak. It may not come like that, just getting in His presence. A lot of times, the word or Him speaking and answering is going to come from you reading the Bible. And, I always tell it's a difference between the written word of God and then getting a revelatory word in God. And so the difference in that is we can read, and then there comes a time when we get to a scripture and it pierces our soul. Like the thing comes alive, it wakes up
Mm.
because it speaks to where we are. It speaks to, a place, whether it's pain or just a place of gratitude. And
Right.
so
Right.
you see that word differently then. So, and that's part of taking that time to listen, to ask. You got to seek, you got to ask. And so it was very important. Anybody that knows me knows that prayer is a huge part of my life. I love God and I don't hide that for anybody. And I also give credit because had it not been for Him and my relationship with Him, I probably wouldn't be here today. If
Mm-hmm.
I may not be here, I could be locked up, for killing somebody. I could be,
Going
in a
crazy.
insane asylum. I could be right. I could be crazy. I could be strung out on drugs. There's so many places I could be,
Mm-hmm.
had I
Thank you,
not had a
Jesus.
relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I had to put that in here. And, it was a struggle at first because we want to always be politically correct. I'm a Christian. I don't hide that. And, I know that there's different religions, and I'm not here to tell you what your religion needs to be. But you have to have a vertical relationship. And that's why I labeled it as such, get in vertical alignment. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you have a vertical relationship, that's where your instruction is going to come from. That's where your guidance is going to come from. That's where you're covering. And so when you reached out and was like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what pierced you, it was like, wow. And I know that you are a believer as well, Ashley, but it's like people don't usually comment about prayer.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I was actually shocked for you to share what you did when it comes to prayer. Usually people will, as Iris mentioned, forgiveness, or usually it's chapter 3 where I talk about, where the wife becomes the other woman. And so that meant a lot to me because, it's my story. I take all of it, but prayer has a very, very special place in my heart, and I love God. So,
Mm-hmm.
for you to get some sort of benefit out of that, and for it to, add to your prayer life that you already had, was just that blessed my soul. It really, really did. So, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Um, thank you. So the
Oh,
next
to
question.
piggyback
Oh,
real
go
quick
ahead. Go
on
ahead.
what you were saying is, prior to us like going live, I know when I was talking to both of you, just what happened this past week is like when I went to go lay down in bed, I wasn't in prayer. I was just kind of relaxing, decompressing from work, and kind of just thinking over what was going on in my life and everything. And being the fact that I was being still and truly listening is when God was like, "Hey, you're not giving me all your trust."
Mm.
And
Mhm.
that's when, because in my prayers I was like, I'm giving it all to you, like, work in my life, guide me on my path. And but obviously I'm not giving up all the reins because I start in my reflection, I was like, "Oh, nope, you're not. You got it. This, you have to fix that. Like, you have to truly trust him and not half trust and go and still do your own thing." Because
Right.
like I told you in my when we were talking about the book at work, is I know that no temporary thing that I do, even though it will make me happy for a little bit, is nothing compared to what God has in store. And so I don't want that temporary happiness. I want the eternal happiness.
Right.
And so that's what I have
Absolutely.
to work on.
That is so good right there. Look, I can
Mm.
shout and run around this place on that one
Me
right there,
too.
but I'm gonna stay in this seat. I'm gonna stay in this seat. That is so, so good, Ashley. And that's the thing though, because I God is subtle, when he speaks to us, he doesn't yell. And
Mhm.
so that's what it's all about, just laying and waiting. God, I'm here. If you want to say something today, and we're not cuckoo for cocoa puffs. God is not going to necessarily be giving and dropping stuff to you every single day, every single moment. That's not true. I'm not saying that. But just to be still, like you said, he tells us, he's like, be still and know that I'm God. And
Mhm.
so just to lay there and he'll give us what we need. And he doesn't talk to us in all the these and the thous. People think that they have to go to God in some, funky language. And,
Right.
you don't have to talk to him in King James. You talk just like we talking now.
Mhm.
You have a
Right.
conversation. He
Right.
meets you right where you are. So that's amazing. And the other thing I wanted to say, we always hear, give it to God, and we do. But like you said, we go back and pick it up, or
Right.
you're like, God, are you doing something? What you got going on? You ain't said
Do you
nothing in
need
a
my
minute.
help? Do you need my help?
Right. Are you
I need to call somebody. What you want me to
just
do?
checking that you're doing things?
Yes, yes. So we all do it. It's human. I always joke because as my deal say, God, you be moving way too slow. He ain't moving fast enough. But he's always on
Right.
time. I
Right.
don't
Right.
care
He
how
sure
slow it
is.
seems, he's always on time.
He
So if
sure
Well,
that if
is.
you ain't getting nothing
right.
else out of this, the fact that you got the importance of prayer and waiting and listening, that look, you got it right there. Because
Mhm.
that's where you're gonna get every answer to every situation is through prayer. That's where it's gonna
Right.
come. You'll get some inside secrets in that prayer room. So that's amazing. Amazing.
Mhm.
So, Miss Iris, what was an unexpected surprise or takeaway from reading the book for you?
Ooh wee. You just hit on it a minute ago. It was a surprise to me that you were your husband's side chick. So now it comes to play where that came from in the title. The side chick. I was like, what does she mean by that? Well, now I know because that I didn't expect that. You know,
Mhm.
I didn't expect that. After you had been separated, he was dating, that you guys began to date again. And then you would, like you described it, you were the side chick. So that was surprising to me. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
and
after
that's
all, he is
something.
still your husband. You know,
That's it. Look, I had a signed paper. I had the legal rights, but honey, that brother wasn't home. Oh
right,
my God, that is so crazy because I can laugh about it now, but honey,
right,
17 years ago, ooh, Jesus. But that's the thing, and it's not funny, but it's like even when I was writing that, I'm like, wow, like how you gonna date your own husband? Like you got to go to hit what? That don't make no sense at all. But the things that we do when you surrender
right.
and submit, like you couldn't have paid me to say I was gonna do that for nobody. Like,
Mm-mm,
no, ma'am. Don't I'm not
mm-mm.
signing up for that foolishness. You're crazy. But
And the funny
listen to
thing
that.
is, as I was reading, and the things that I was like, I can hear Katrina saying this right now in your own voice. I can hear her saying that. Like, oh no, ma'am, no, 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 sir, no, 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 Captain. I can hear all those little funny little sayings you said. I can see you saying it, and I can hear you at the same time.
Yes, listen, I was like, what the look that right there had me going back to God. God, you sure? Did I really hear you? Like, I ain't trying to manipulate no word because this is crazy. Like, who does
Mm-hmm.
this?
Mm-hmm.
Who
Mhm.
does this? Oh my God. Ooh, honey, honey. Y'all got to read chapter 3 for yourself. She's a
Yes.
married side
Yes.
chick, honey. The
Yes.
married, look, the married, you the side piece, but you got the license. Okay, all right.
Okay.
All the things.
Mm. Ashley, what it was it for you?
So I the whole book. Um all of it.
She's like,
So
Katrina, I've been knowing you all this time. I didn't know you
I
was
d-
going, girl.
I did
Listen, thank God I
not.
don't look like what I've been through. Oh,
Oh,
Jesus.
thank
Thank you,
God.
Lord.
Well,
Hmm.
and I think that was the biggest thing is because I've known you since I moved here to Florida 6 years ago. And I've always known your how passionate and like your faith is. And then to read your story, I was like, huh. Because I've seen you and your husband together. Like you guys are like two giddy high schoolers joking around and everything. And so I was like, I would have never known like the struggle and that, technically you guys were separated for 4 or 5 years. And like so I mean I think ultimately like yet it happened and you probably were like, oh, nothing like that will ever happen to me because that's what we always think. But if that had never happened, you wouldn't have wrote this book and you wouldn't have found
Walked
your
out your
calling
purpose.
and your purpose in helping others. And
Hmm.
so God be working in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. Yes, it look. I'd be like, Lord, we couldn't have got here no other way. But whew, you know what? I joke about it now. I can, but listen here. I always say I would never, ever, ever want to go through that again. I wouldn't wish that
Yeah.
on my worst enemy. But I'm so grateful to God that I walked through it because it gave me the relationship that I have with Him. It taught me His ways, and I always, me and another girlfriend of mine, we always love and say the scripture, it was good that I was afflicted because it taught me His statutes, it taught me His ways. And like I said, I don't look, I'd be like, Lord, listen now, I'm not saying I want a do over,
Hmm.
but it gave me what I have with Him, and I can't put. I would never. I wouldn't trade the relationship I have with God for the world. I just wouldn't. And
Right.
so it's a painful thing, and that's why my goal and my mission in life is to help other wives that have been through it. Because there are some that are like, I have one friend. She's like, Katrina, I couldn't do it. She was like, I'm sorry. She was like, that'll be divorce, and I'm like, I said the same thing. I literally said the same thing. I actually tried to get a divorce, 3 times, not just once, 3 times.
Hmm.
So I get it. It's not some people can't do it. People divorce, you know, people are in depression, all kinds of stuff. And so I just want to help those women that have decided to stay to help them heal, because it's one thing to say you're going to stay and fight for your family and you want to have this close knit family for your children and all this stuff, but if you staying in a marriage and you miserable, you hurting, you in pain, you looking for every opportunity that you can to get back at him, and all that kind of stuff, it's not worth it. It's not
Right.
worth it. Like, what is the point? It has to be more than just, oh, well, I don't want, a broken home. It's broken if you just stand there doing that. It's still
Right.
broken.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
Not working on true forgiveness.
Right.
exactly. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, let's get you there. Let's get you to the place to where you can forgive and you can have the memory, or you can remember the events, but you're not angry. That's where I want you to be. I want you to be healed. I want you to forgive. We've been taught, I'll forgive you but I'll never forget. No, that's not forgiveness. I want you to be to a place to where you don't have to bring it up,
Hmm.
constantly throwing it up in his face. I want you to a place to where you're not sitting, and when you're by yourself, all you're thinking about is, how did this happen to me? What was it like with the other woman? Why did he choose the other woman over me? You are going to drive yourself crazy,
Right.
crazy.
Right.
Right.
Because, we go out in front of people and we put on the mask that we good, and we really not, and then
Hmm.
we come home and we cry, we suffer in silence. So as many times and as often as I can share my story, that's what I'm going to do, because I want people to see that there's healing and there's hope. It doesn't happen overnight. I was telling a young lady the other day, like, it's okay that it's only been a year.
Hmm.
My husband and I were separated 3 years. And even when he came back home, then he had to go off to prison. And so we still had to work. So this
Hmm.
was probably over like an 8, 9 year period because you got 3 apart, almost 3 in prison. And then when you came home, I had to relive everything and we got to work through this stuff. You got
Mm-hmm.
to actually do what you said you were going to do now. And so I had to go through my own healing. I had to, you got to do what you got to do for you. I tell women, don't be afraid to get counseling. I had to go get counseling. My emotions were jacked up. you know
Mm-hmm.
so that's what my desire is to help other women know that don't go in and say, well, if we don't work it out by 6 months or a year from now, don't do that. Just do the
Right.
work. Keep showing
Right.
up and do the work and heal. I don't know how long it's going to take. I really don't. I
Right.
can't give you a number, but I do know that if you do your work, you'll get healed, you'll get whole, and you can move on.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to
And I
God.
know that people, a lot of people, they put timelines on things. Like if it's not done by this, I'm going to do this, or and that's not how God works. Like God
Right.
doesn't say, "Okay, I'm going to give you this by this date," and otherwise I'd have been married already. I wouldn't
Me
be
too.
I wouldn't be, in my season of waiting. So it just doesn't work like that. You can't. And I was reading another book this earlier this year, and it was just talking about like not not getting upset or getting down on yourself because you're not at certain points by certain dates or
Mhm,
by a certain age. Because
Mm-hmm.
had you told 18-year-old me that you would be, at 33 and not married, I'd have fell apart. I'd be like, what do you mean? But had it just worked out that way, and I am now, more comfortable with the fact that this is where I am in life, but I'm constantly growing and constantly learning, and so that's fine for where I'm at now.
I think that is so important because we all have our own timeline, and I was joking earlier, we say God, he moved so slow, but he's always on time because
Right.
I'll never forget early on when my husband and I were going through, there was a time where he told me to tell my husband, he had 3 days to come home. So in my mind, okay, 3 days he'll be home. We're gonna be done with this. And honey, 3 days turned into 3 years. And I was like, what the
Mm.
mess? Like,
Wow.
seriously? And so you just never know. And the thing of it is, God don't move in time. Time is
Right.
for us. That he does
Right.
not move in time. And so it's important because, you put all these limitations, and that's just how we work. You have women that go through, we go through life and we get to certain ages and it's like, oh my God, my clock's ticking. Like, who created that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so we put all these pressures on ourselves because we're not in a certain place at a certain time. I remember when I was, I wanted my degree. I wanted to be finished with college by the time I was 25. Well, I hated school. So when I finished high school, I wasn't going to nobody's college, you know? And so literally it was like I was almost 25 and I met this young lady. She was a registrar at National Louis University. And she was like, Katrina, because their programs are like 18 months long. She was like, she's like, a year's going to come and go. You can be at the same place where you are right now, talking about you wanted to have a degree by 25, or you can be 25 and almost finish with your degree. And when she said that, it just clicked for me. And so I was able to go and get my bachelor's degree. I then went and got my master's and then went and got my doctorate. But we put those limitations on ourselves with time. And God, he's not moved by that. The only thing that he says
Mm-hmm.
he's moved by is faith in his word.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so it's so important for us to let go our timetable. We also have to let go our stipulations. Somebody was asking me, a friend of mine was asking me last week, um, what was her question? She said, "Did you have any?" When my husband and I came back together, her question was, "What were your deal breakers?" And I said, "I didn't have any." You
Mm.
know, I didn't have any deal breakers because when I got to the place to where I made the decision to stay and that I was going to work for my marriage, I didn't look for a way out anymore.
Right.
When I came to the decision that divorce is no longer can be a choice, it can no longer be an option, I don't have a deal breaker. Now, that's not to say that I'm just going to allow any and everything. No, but if you're going in looking for a way out. That's what I tell, people I was talking to someone, about the academy, and it's like, well, what if that's not what I need to do? Or, you start these what ifs, and I'm like, you're coming in with the wrong mindset already.
Right.
Come in knowing that you're going to get what you need to get to be successful, that you're going to get what you need to get to heal. Because if you're not getting it, you know what, you're going to raise your hand and ask a question. You're going to press, you're going to apply pressure. You're going to walk away though with everything that you need. So we have to think about that sometimes. Like when we go to God, don't come with all our preconceived notions and, well, if you do this, I'll do that, and bargain it like that. It don't work like that. It don't
Right.
work like that.
Right.
So this is my last question for you ladies, and then we'll wrap up. But the last question is, and I think Ashley went last, so we'll flip back over to Iris. Would you recommend this book for a single woman, and why?
Yes, I would. I would recommend the book to a single woman because, again, as I thought, just by reading the title and because more so minister and cater to more of a married women's audience, I just assumed that the book was more for married women. But when I read it, when I heard the story at the book signing, that's when I realized it's not even about married, because single women go through some of the same things as far as infidelity. It's all about forgiveness, healing, and becoming whole. So yes, I would absolutely recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Ashley.
Definitely I would. I told you, I bought the book at the beginning of September, didn't read it till October. And when I reached out to you, I said it was divine timing that I read it when I did, because I was at a point where I was like, oh, I'm healed, I'm good. And then I read it and I was like, I still have some work to do. So, and like Iris said, it's not about even though it is about infidelities overall, it's more about learning forgiveness and the fact that you can't move on in any healthy relationship without forgiving what's happened in the past. And not just going on that I forgive but I won't forget. Like, yeah, you won't forget, but you don't want to keep that anger attached to
Right.
everything, and then learning to properly heal.
That's oof. And that's why that's why I wanted for both of you ladies to come on. As you've both stated, I know where I cater to, and so sometimes I have to take a break. I don't want to confuse my audience, but at the same token, if there's a woman out there that's going through marital hurt and needs healing, needs to know how to forgive the correct way, needs to build a relationship with God, needs to learn how to take care of herself, needs to learn how to walk in the newness of life, and needs to know how to rebuild trust again. I want her to get the book to be able to get that information as well. But everything I know that I create and where my focus is on wives, because that's what I am. I'm a wife. I know the oil that God has given me because of my walk, because of my story, because of what I've been through. And so that's why it's so important for me to reach back to wives. And so I really wanted for you all to come on, to share from your perspective. So again, if there's somebody out there that's like, hey, I'm not married, her book is not for me, but I need to heal, they can hear from your perspective to say, you know what, it doesn't matter that you're not married. If you are someone that needs healing, the book is for you. And so, and when we did the last live book review, it men like, Brother Terrence, he gave his perspective on the impact and how it helped for men. And then also Greg from our ministry, he also read the book. His wife bought it, but he read it as well. And so he has shared his review, which I posted. And so the goal is for people to know, especially now I know people are preparing for shopping and stuff like that. And with Corona, a lot of people are just in a real tough place. really tough place. And so, no matter who you are, where you are, if you are in need of forgiveness and healing, The Pain of Infidelity Births Purpose is a book that you can read, that you can gain information from, and that you can get some nuggets to help you. So, before we close out, do you ladies have anything else that you would like to say, that you would like to add? Any comments at all?
I do.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
I would like to commend you on your positivity through the process. One thing, or should I say, I have two things, but the first thing, you always spoke positive to your daughter about your husband, even though, like you said, what you were going through, you didn't say anything negative around her. So that's the first thing. I applaud you for that, and I commend you for that. And then the second thing, when you went to visit Joseph and he told you about the certificate that he had completed, you didn't throw it up in his face what all the stuff that he had done. And even when he was spinning the furniture sign, you were his best cheerleader. You encouraged him. So
Mhm.
I commend you on that, because you know through your positivity and your encouraging words, you catapulted him to the man that he knew he was, but at the time he was feeling, you know, inadequate, or whatever the word is that you want to use. You encouraged him. And then same with your daughter. You could have easily, by saying those negative things to your daughter about him, he could, I mean, I'm sorry, she could have gone on in life thinking, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. Like you said, that generational curse, which you cut at the head. So she could have been thinking, okay, negative about her father, and then it goes into negative about the men that she may date. So I commend you on those.
Thank you so much. That's,
You're welcome.
all I can say is to God be the glory, because there were some times where but that was another thing, that God told me early on, was to cover him. I did
Mhm.
not understand that, but it makes sense now, because
Mhm.
had I torn him down, had I spoken all that stuff over him because I wanted him to hurt and wanted people to see
Mhm.
how bad he made me hurt, then now I'll be trying to clean that up on the back
Right.
end, because
Right.
people have that image of him. But I just give all praises to God, for giving me the strength to be able to do that. And thank you for your words, of encouragement and acknowledgement.
You're welcome.
So I just want to say how proud I am to call you my friend, and the fact that you put this book out, and it couldn't have been easy. I don't know if I would be able to share a story if this had happened to me like this. And also, kudos to your husband for also being like, yes, put it out, because it doesn't paint him in the best light. But if you guys had never gone through these struggles, you wouldn't be where you are now. And my biggest takeaway from all of this is divine timing, and everything happens for a reason. And so
Mhm.
when I got back home to Florida, I was like, I'm gonna write down everything that's happened to me this year,
Mhm.
and you know all negative, positive, write it down, and what wouldn't have happened if it did not happen,
Mhm.
Wow.
just so that I could find the silver lining, find the positive in it, and just kind of put out like I said earlier, positivity and love, to get positivity and love back.
Hmm.
So, yep. And had I never moved here 6 years ago, I would have never met you.
That's true.
To know that you wrote a book, that to know that you wrote a book, and that I would be so impacted by it.
Right.
Yes, yes. That's good. Self-reflection. That's key. So that's good, to connect the dots. Connect the
Right.
dots. All things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and close us out. Thank you, ladies. Thank you all for tuning in. Everyone that has tuned in, stop by to say hello. If you are watching the replay again, make sure that you just put in the comments hashtag replay so we know you stopped by. If you have any questions or comments or anything that you would like to know more information about me, again, you can visit my website, www.drkatrinaesau.com. Dr. Katrina Esau of KE3 Worldwide Enterprises. And for the women, the wives, have to call them out. That's who I'm called to. If you're out there, if you're hurting and you're in that place where you need healing, restoration, and you need to know how to forgive, make sure that you reach out. The whole academy launches next month on the 23rd. So make sure you enroll. You can get all that information from my website as well. And then also, if you're in a place to where you just need support, you need support from other wives that have been through and that have walked through or are walking through the same situation, you can reach out and join my private Facebook group. It's a private group. You can't see who's in it or what they say until you get in there. And it's only for wives that's been impacted by infidelity. So I just want to put that out there, because if you ask to join and that's not who you are, you will not get entry, because this is not a spectator sport. This is women, this is wives' lives on the line, and they need a safe place to go. They can't go to, a friend or a sister, mother, whatever. They're in that place to where it's still private. They're still vulnerable. And so this group is for them. You can find the Facebook group if you are a wife in that situation. It's Wives Healing Openly from Infidelity. So go ahead and send a request to join. And again, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Don't forget to share the video on your page so someone else can be blessed by it. And the name of the book is The Pain of Infidelity Births Purpose. And you can also get the accompanying journal, which is the blueprint to becoming whole. And that is also available via my website, as well as it's also on Amazon and Kindle. So thank you guys. Have a great day and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Same to
Bye.
you.
Thank